If you're to be my lover, whoa, you must be 18 and over.
I sing. Woman no pretty body just no respond. What him looking at is a life sentence. So woman you fat body just no cater. You big in a body but young like a war. I check you out, me see you on the corner. You want my in your search for your veranda. You face a taking like keep brand like a war. Woman when you get it from your possess the charm. Put you back on a figure. Put the wall for the girl young in a age and that's a serious matter. These man every time I go me the most time, but no pay them no mind. Why?
Cause it's not the time to think about man, but the time to think about education. Tell pick me, you better set up a plan for your future. Girl.
Hello. I wanted to jump on, as I'm often want to do, and I want to talk about healing out loud. So I know there's Eugene. Hi Eugene. I think it's just me and you. So let's imagine I'm talking to you, Eugene, so I can talk to you about healing out loud. I've not long ago come back from a week in the Panamanian forest, rainforest to be specific. So yeah, I'm not even gonna. It's so not what I thought I was going to do. So not what I was expecting, and it was amazing. But I did want to share some of the personal reflections that I've had after spending a week with basically a group of strangers from all four corners of the world, and how it has reminded me. So I'm not even going to say reminded me, it told me, because if I use the word reminded, it implies that like I already knew this, and let's be honest, I probably didn't so much. But on the importance of healing. If anyone hasn't followed me for 2 years, almost 2 years, you will assume that the way I show up is like, oh yes, here she is, like, you know, with my, as somebody said, with my sword and shield in hand, off I go to kind of gather people together and to do as much as I can to speak truth to power. Like, I'm not here to pander to anybody other than what I feel is the right thing to do or say. But it hasn't always been like that. And in amongst basically group therapy, do you know what I mean? So all of us kind of, you know, the whole cohort is sharing just some things that we've kept hidden. It made me really understand why it is so important that we take time to heal, that we take time to heal as individuals, that we take time to heal as a community. So I'm just going to center myself for a moment as I explain, I guess, what I was left with. And I did begin this work of anti-racism, of Black liberation, of just wanting people to wake up, you know, and feeling quite guilty for myself that I'd spent all this time in the corporate world, merrily climbing the corporate ladder, thinking that's what I wanted. You know, I've got the degrees, I've got all the qualifications in the world you can ever imagine. And despite all of the racism, the exclusion, the being ignored, the being made fun of, the conversely being picked on and singled out, all of these things, I thought I just brushed it off. You know, over the last 18 months or so, I thought the work that I do just magically meant that somehow I'd come to terms with all of that by definition of what I do, right? The way that I do it, the subject matter that I talk about. And I realized that probably wasn't the case because I was still carrying it. So, you know, in the couple of weeks leading up to going to Panama, I felt increasingly very heavy, like really short-tempered, like really frustrated. And then when we had this child queue situation arise within the UK, and for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about in terms of child queue, just Google it and you'll get all the horror stories. And I found that really, really sat on my spirit, so to speak. So I literally felt like I had boulders on my shoulders. And so it made it very difficult for me to feel productive. It made me very difficult for me to feel creative. And so kind of going into this experience, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I just need a break, even though technically I've already had a break because I've been in East Africa for most of February. And I thought, oh, this is just, I just need a little bit more of a break. And then you go, and then I realized just how much like trauma is like sitting within my cells, and how I don't take the time enough to prioritize healing. Now, this isn't about, self-care in the, run yourself a bath and bubbles and, drink champagne and light a candle and all of that. It's deeper than that. It was me really thinking about what continues to drive me to the point of exhaustion and burnout, and why do I find it so difficult to pull myself from the edge? What is it? So all of these emotions were coming up, all of these kind of patterns in my whole life, actually, right from my childhood. Some like positive things that came out, but also not some great things. And I wanted to share that with whoever's listening. It's probably me and like me and Eugene. Hi, Eugene. And I wanted to share that because I don't feel we talk about it enough. I don't feel we talk about how much damage is done to Black people because of racism. Like, whether you talk about it or don't talk about it, whether you claim you've transcended race or not, whether you claim that you've never been impacted or not, it does take its toll on you. And imagine that you're like building, it's like pebbles, isn't it? So, you have an incident at work, or you have an incident on the way to work or the way home, or you're interacting people, and it kind of builds up. And it also builds up when we are not allowed to express that. We are not allowed to express the hurt, the frustration, the rage sometimes, So you end up just like, it just clings to you. And then we feel like just by turning the other cheek, physically and metaphorically, that somehow means that everything just washes away. And it doesn't. It doesn't just wash away. And I was thinking about all of the things that I want to do. I'm working on my foundation. My book is out soon. And I'm thinking all these things that I've got to like have this energy to go and do. And I love this. Everything I'm doing is because I love what I do. And I made a choice to be here. However, I did also feel like I just want to hide in my back cave. Part of that is my personality. If I've been around people too much, I do feel the need to re-energize with silence. But disproportionately, I wanted to hide. I wanted to stay in my house. I didn't really want to see anybody. I didn't really want to interact with anybody other than like my immediate family. And so I already recognize the signs that it's not normal. It's not me at my optimum health. Because I don't use phrase like normal and abnormal and all of that sort of stuff, but it's just for me, I wasn't at my optimal health. And I was oscillating between loving the direction of what I'm going and what I'm trying to do, but also just thinking like, when will it ever stop? When do I get a day off from not having to deal with racism? And just to be crystal clear, even if I did not open my mouth to say anything about anti-racism, we live and breathe it every single day. There's always something. It's not just about what the media portray. It's literally living whilst Black. There's always something. And yes, you can tune it out and you can do all the rest of it. But I got to the point where I'm thinking, I'm tired of tuning it out. But then I'm tired of tuning it out, but I can't do anything with the emotion. So like, where do I go from here? So imagine, I'll probably make zero sense, but in my mind, I'm making sense. So I've got all of this emotion kind of swirling, and see, it's one of those things. I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, right? So when you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go, and I'm gonna sit in a group and whatever, and then when somebody asks you one question, and then you literally feel like you're just gonna crumble into a puddle, or just dissolve into a puddle of like sheer. And so the first couple of days, we have to do this check-in thing, how do you feel? And honestly, I felt close to tears, like everything was here. And I couldn't even tell you the reason why. Day 3, there I was bawling like a baby for no reason. So embarrassing, but it was necessary. I understand it was necessary. But part of me was like, I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. I'm like, here I am, crying my eyes out in front of strangers, and I could articulate it. So I shared what was driving that. And I can share with you because, you've seen me cry, you've seen me do all sorts of things, if we go back to my day 1 videos and and how we got here. And it was just this thing about how much I felt like I've not been seen. And I know which sounds really random and almost really strange, because you're thinking, Shereen, you just pop up on video when you like. But the difference is because I've been in lots of environments where it doesn't matter. I'm 5'9". You can't miss me. Even before I had red hair, you can't miss me. And I thought there's so many times in my career and in life where I've just felt ignored. I felt like the parts that make me who I am are not accepted, and therefore at some point even rejected. And the bit that I shared when I was, crying, and the facilitator, Roland, was great, sitting on the floor in front of me while I literally just, wanted to do this. And I remember a time before I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. This was years ago, I'm fine now. But the months leading up to it, if I told you how many times I was in the doctors and they didn't believe that something was wrong with me, if I told you how many times that I'd spoken to people that I knew at the time who claimed that I was making up these symptoms and all the rest of it, I didn't feel seen and I wasn't heard. And so by the time I was diagnosed, and the doctors are telling me literally, if you'd have left it like a week or so, there's probably nothing we could have done. That's how serious it was. I was stage 4 by that point. And so anyway, as I'm crying and blurting this out, and I just thought, because there was a time in my life where being not seen almost cost me my life, like literally in every literal life and death sense. And I'd never really explored that, because I'm really blasé about my cancer. I'm always like, it's fine. And, doctors were great, hospital was great, when I got diagnosed up until that point. But I'd never really explored what I felt like in the months leading up to, being ignored and, spending a fortune on over-the-counter medicine and going private for like skin doctors and, all of this sort of stuff. Wasn't sleeping. My eldest daughter was really young and it was just me and her at the time. And so when you add that period of my life with how many times I've been overlooked, and, I remember working in one job, I kid you not, I know you won't believe this used to happen to me, but the senior people, so I used to sit in a corner office and my boss used to sit in like a office diagonal. So you always had to walk past my desk pretty much to get to my boss's office. If I told you that 9 times out of 10, I was ignored. So people didn't even say hello, like, how you doing, whatever else it is. If they came and spoke to me, it was to ask me where my boss was. And I'm thinking to myself, I might as well not be here. So, all of these, and I used to talk to my boss and she would just, oh, I know it's terrible, all that jazz, not really doing anything about it. But what I'm saying is all of these instances, and then, yes, I did have a very serious instance, but all of these things I never really dealt with and I never explored, and I never just acknowledged this is how it made me feel. I never acknowledged it, I never acknowledged it because I became very good at hiding how I really felt. So the healing out loud piece, and what I'm doing with you is a version of healing out loud. And there's part of me that's thinking, why are you recording a live? At least if I'd have done a video, I could edit it. But I can't be bothered these days. So we just pop up, and whoever's listening is whoever's listening. And so I want to say, it is not selfish for you to prioritize healing. It's not selfish for you to ask for help. It's not selfish for you to take time out. And when we think about the magnitude of some of the challenges that we're all experiencing in the world in lots of different guises, I occupy a particular corner of hard work with getting people to at least do something to become less racist or to dismantle racism, right? But if you think about all this, lots of other problems, this is not just it. But when you think about that, what it takes is us to have a lightness of spirit. And what it also takes is us to occupy our truly authentic, most creative, most beautiful self. Now, I'm not saying that healing is going to get you to perfection, because there's actually no end date with healing, but it's all about balance, isn't it? So if you're holding on to all of these feelings and it's coming on top of, you're getting heavier and heavier, which means the work that you're trying to do becomes invariably harder and slower. And you feel more cumbersome, even though technically there's nothing around you to stop you doing what you're doing. And so we have this stereotype or assumption that when you talk about healing, it's like everybody sitting in a circle and holding hands. And to be fair, last week, that's probably what I was doing. And it was amazing. Like, I honestly can't tell you, but equally I appreciate that's not everybody's jam. So whatever you need to do, or just explore, be okay with just exploring. If I'd have known exactly what I was going to do from that week, would I have gone? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact that I went with an open mind means I benefited so much from that. So I want to share this with you because I hope that for some of you, you might think, goodness me, Shereen, maybe, you know what, like this has been playing on my mind. Maybe I should be doing this. Because I do think the more of us that get into normalizing healing, we can heal and support each other. You know, I was massively supported by people I'd never met, you know, who put pieces of me back together that I didn't even know were broken. You know, and I tried to clumsily try to articulate that without sounding really soppy, but that's what they did. You know, we've had people from Turkey, from, you know, Panama itself, from Holland, from Germany, from, you know, like I can't even remember. So forgive me if somebody's listening and thinking you missed me out. But, you know, all over the world. And our paths would have never crossed normally. And there we were, all kind of collectively healing each other. And that's what community, that's what human beings are here to do. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to. How long have I been talking? 16 minutes. I did say 10. I said to myself 10 minutes, but it's been 16 minutes, but that's fine. But that's what I wanted to share. And, you know, possibly as I go, I will share more things as I prioritize this for myself. So, you know, you can always read my moods with what's going on because, you know, I take you with me. So I will take you all with me for those of you who are interested. So every so often you will see that I share something that seemingly is so disconnected to my day job in inverted commas, but that's part of authentically me. You know, I'm very spiritual. You know that I've shared all my eccentricities with you all before. I'm really focused. Also, I'm very playful. You know, I'm all of these things, and that's cool. But I also recognize I'm somebody who needs to heal. You know, and that is something that I've never attached to myself before this trip, and I'm okay with that, healing out loud. And like, I want to encourage more of us that want to, you know, not everybody has to, like, to share that and to share with people what you need and what you're going through. And then for us who are the recipients of the sharing, for us not to ever make the other person feel like they have to validate their feelings for us to care or for us to offer help. You know, it's enough that somebody says I'm hurting. It's enough that somebody says I'm impacted by this. It's enough that somebody says I can't even tell you what's wrong with me or what I need. That's enough. That should be enough for us to find ways, be really creative, or do nothing and just listen. Be present, support. If you're able to, you know, be in physical proximity to people, give them a hug with their permission. Don't be just hugging randomly, with their permission. And sometimes that's all that we need. It's the most simplest things, isn't it? Not to sound twee, but it really is the most simplest things. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share, really. So thank you for listening. I am going to shall I play one song? Play one song. You know what? I'm so desperate. I'm going to play it. I'm so desperate to play, you know, my favorite Jamaican reggae music. I'm so desperate to play this, but I think there's probably about 4 lives where I've played this particular compilation, but I don't care because it always puts me in a good mood. So maybe I do that, and then I'm going to look at what you've shared. So thank you so much for sharing. Let's hold on, sorry. You know I always struggle to do 2 things at once. So forgive the silence for a moment. I should have been a little bit more organized, but right, hold on. Right, here we go. All right. Always puts me in a bad mood. Right. Let me see what you say.
Well, right about now, we feature to you the word of Martin Son of feature a man like Luciana.
Hi, Patricia. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Supani. Hello. And London. Oh, I've got a lot of Netherlands people here today. Hello.
As you get inside the voice, I'm going to see the one my solution to take on. Some say I'm a fool to be abiding by rules.
sorry, Patricia. I can't. I'm trying to
Listening
answer,
so
but I'm not
long since
100%
I've been
sure what you're
going
saying.
to school. Getting a vibe and a natural vibration. Listening the champion with good meditation. Play your champion stoner. Play on and set the fire. Play your
100%.
champion stoner. Play on
You're most welcome, Lorraine. You are most welcome.
I read about now them say who can bless no man curse. So
Yes,
if you want
Vinda,
to
the
bless
plug
man
has been
roses,
earlier.
gonna spoil us
That's
too.
me.
Show me
Needed it to have been earlier.
Don't give me strength to face another day. Yes, sir. Make it long life so. Yeah. Come I be Lord. Give some
Thank you, Colin. All the love hearts. I appreciate you. All the love.
Oh my Lord, my. Oh, I found me that the beginning. Please hear me when I
thank you for listening.
when stone of praise. Hey, all that for is passion. Hey, all that for is to come. Without whom I could not be. Some trouble are trying to me.
Trying to listen. Me and Stone love you now. We're like, you can't even cry to the part. I'm like this.
And so I promise
to play this compilation. Must be about 10 times.
With my God. And I beg thee some mercy. I can't. Down, give me strength. Yes, sir. To face another day. Yes, Emperor Selassie,
oh, you are most welcome. Sorry, I can't see your name. No, it is going to play ball with me today. But then, thank you. Make it home, even to them, you're rugged and steeds full of sound guide over roads. Emperor Selassie, take this last bit.
Keep on scouting, keep on wrecking, keep on down. Hey, these are those who cut the meat they have been slicing out. The rats on the trucks, even the snails name now. The rich we are them hurt to be falling well, but let them face down love sound right. Feel so I will make it to my world.
Thank you, Colin. I will do. I will do. I'm literally just going to finish this song.
And Emperor Selassie, it's to love sound of a brand. Guide over us. Emperor Selassie, I them ya go rugged and steep. I know it is a must for us to overcome.
You take care. Just remember what I said. It's all right to prioritize your own healing, and whatever you need, just ask for it. Just ask for it. There are always people out there that will support. There are always people that will give you time. You just, we might need to just navigate a little bit to go and find them. So I had to go all the way to Panama. Can you imagine? I was like, I don't want to leave. Like, miss my kids and my other half. I was like, but no, it was worth it. So yeah, but you don't have to go to extremes like I did, obviously, just to be clear. All right, you take care. Bye.